I want to listen from the lab technician. Ever nangu umamwa pitamonsi nangu punchto before you start work you go for medicals. Who gives you the medical report? It's the doctor. Who does the examination and the results? It's the laboratory. But in my matter, the man now subpoenaed that he wanted the laboratory technician who did the results to come and confirm. For speaking for the Zambia. This is too much. This is extremely too much. Unfortunately, the authorities in government thought it was not necessary to bring the lab technician. They ignored him because as far as they were concerned, the doctors had confirmed. 2 doctors. So when it came on Monday, when he subpoenaed the man from the laboratory, he didn't show up. And he said no, in his own ruling, he said no, since now the accused person is back and those doctors came, it's okay, we can proceed with hearing of the matter. But in his judgment, Mwevena Zambia, he comes and writes that he faked COVID and absconded court. So you can see that everything this man did was just malice. Ichamukali pefie, ichamukali pe, mwacho wandi. Nicho na because I don't behave like that. I refused. And again, third lie that he told on that judgment. He said the accused person only applied for me to recuse myself from the case after I found him with a case to answer. That's why I've said this matter is of public interest. Go and check the record. When he just asked me for the money and he started treating me badly so that he squeezes me for me to be scared to give him the money, we applied for him to recuse himself. And the records are there. He refused. He called the lawyers in chambers and said, no, I'm not being biased. When you see me in Deva Fidia, because I've got pressure from the government, it's just to show that I'm strict. You were there in the chambers. He was there. So I'm aggressive toward your clients. It's not with any malice or anything. I just have to show a picture that I'm working. So forget about this thing of me recusing myself. But luckily enough, or intelligent enough, we had followed the process. Doctored record. And we saw during trial where he started doctoring the record. We made an application to the resident magistrate, chief resident magistrate who was there, Mulife, to say that he needed court recorders. You know those court recorders when they are, so that that man does not alter or make alterations to the record. And Mulife, by court order that court recorders being introduced in that court. But that was almost halfway. The procedure, court recorders were brought. So if you go and check that record, we found for him to use himself long before he put me on his defense. Again, when he puts me on his defense, he sent the people and said, no mbana namubika pa defense. Ichile konga poguka kwa. When I let 360,000. Then I said no. Then we are dealing with the person who is incorrigible. He doesn't learn. I gave him time for him to reflect. Now I realized I was dealing with a person who is incorrigible. So what did I do? Not to put the judiciary into disrepute because I respect them. I did not rush to go and report him to the anti-corruption members of the press. That's how I respect the judiciary. I decided to complain to the Chief Justice. I had a meeting with them and they asked me to put it in written. and I wrote my complaint of all the things that he had done. All this was in an effort not to put the judiciary into dispute because of one particular individual. The judiciary is an important institution, sacred, which is supposed to decide on people's liberties. And to cast aspersions on them not be in the best interest of this country. If us as leaders lose confidence in the judiciary, what about the ordinary person on the street? Because I respected the judiciary, I wrote to them confidentially to say that, Chief Justice, this is how your magistrate has been behaving. To my surprise, I received a reply, which I will not disclose what was there, and the man continued on the case. Then now, after that, it even became my experience in that court. When I look back, my heart beats. I have never seen a magistrate who behaves like that. I have never seen a magistrate. To the extent that at one point my lawyer said, no, abuse, this man is abusing us too much. That's when you heard my lawyers withdraw. They withdrew because of the abuse that was coming. The way I was being treated and the way the lawyers were being treated during trial. He refused to recuse himself. We wanted access to the record so that we can do a judicial review. He was carrying the file in his armpits. When magistrates are working on cases, they leave those files to the registry. For him, my case was taking it in his briefcase so that we could not have, nobody should have access. We made an attempt so many times to go and do a search and look at the record. The registry told us, I record the end of a magistrate. I have saved this country. You remember when I was minister? You remember, you people, when we started PF from the scratch, like I said, in the past, by MMD, police, but today, I can be treated like this by one magistrate because I refused to give him 300,000. It's unfortunate. 360,000. It is very, very unfortunate. But one man cannot destroy the judiciary. We need to sort out this one man. And by the way, I'm not the first one he has treated like this. He first treated Dr. Membe, Fred Membe, exactly the same way. He asked for something from him. When he was not given, Dr. Membe ended in prison. He asked for 250,000 from Nevas Mumba, Dr. Nevas Mumba, and when he didn't give him the 250,000, he sent him to prison and disappeared for 14 days to avoid to hear the bail application. And you saw what happened in my bail application. He delayed until I spent 13 days. That's when he had me. That's his nature. When people refuse to give him money, you cannot turn your office into a money-making venture. That is wrong. Dr. Mumba complained, and I read what the Judicial Complaints Commission said. And that's why I'm saying the judiciary still remains an important and, what can I say, institutional integrity. Because the JCC have written to say this man's behavior is uncalled for and he must be removed as a magistrate. So based on another person's complaint, and to make matters worse, you can go and confirm with Dr. Membe what he did, because he knew that Dr. Membe and Mr. Sata were very close. When we won election, that Simusamba went to Dr. Fred Membe and pleaded munjelele kofirana mikakile vale mpatikisha feva system ni government yanjewelo kumitaka. It's not me. I have got a family munjeleleko. What I did was wrong. That's the person we are dealing with. Dr. Membe is there. From this, you can go and ask him. He went and knelt and cried before munjeleleko na mitumine. You didn't do anything. Na mikakile because bambo mfe chef. And Dr. Membe, because forgave the man, young man, and told him, don't ever do this to another person. I forgive you. He thought Dr. Membe was going to use Mr. Sata to have him fired. Filabatila kanwa kamila ndo kala ibala. Membe tabamuch threatened. He did not threaten him. He went to plead because he was guilty for what he did. That's the person we're dealing with. I feel sorry about the young man. He's a young man who has a lot of future, but his conduct is unacceptable. So, it is very wrong for him to tell lies in a government document, which is a judgment that one, I was absconding court, two, I was being disrespectful of the court. If reporting him to the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Chief Justice, and suing him is misconduct, then I'm 100% guilty. But for some of us, we believe in calling a spade and not a spade a pig for the sake of impressions. If other people had not reported him for me, I wanted to make it right that this man cannot continue with his trajectory. So all that lies he made in his judgment, I'm challenging everybody, particularly Law Association of Zambia. I want you to go and look at the record and confirm what I'm talking about, that this man was only being malicious.
Kambwili. Sosa.
So I want to make it clear, I never absconded court. 3 times I was by him. 1, I would have even, if you wanted, commercial break ngawasana muchifungo ngangulala bwino utwambo kufyanga nino kwa commercial break.
Kambwili. Sosa. Ichalo chire kumfwa.
So I hope I've made it very clear that Honorable Simusamba lied in his judgment to justify him sending me to prison, and of course to try and create an impression to other judicial officials, judicial officials, that when I appeal, they should look at me as a bad person who doesn't respect the judiciary. I felt this was very important for me to communicate. I don't want to go in the nitty-gritties of the cases why he jailed me or what, but only to say, to declare my own son who na fiele mu in 1993 nomkashwati karo twamukusha mwamba chimba Kambwili. We say that is a fictitious person, is an insult. When my son came to visit me in prison, I said, what are you doing here? You don't exist. You are fictitious. And my son dropped tears. I said, somebody has declared you that you are fictitious. My son dropped tears. We'll deal with the issues of evidence in the High Court, where we've appealed. This is not a court. That Musamba is a danger to the judiciary, and he should be removed from the judiciary. And by copy of that judgment, and by the way, he delivered judgment on the 14th. Up to now, my lawyers have been to him. His judgment is not ready. He can't give them a copy of the judgment because it's not ready. Now, when you are delivering a judgment, you are reading from a prepared judgment already text. If people want copies, you just make photocopies. But from the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27. Today is 28. 29 is still saying that the judgment is not ready. And I have, through my vice president, who is a lawyer, we've carried out a search on Simusamba. From the time he joined the judiciary, he has never delivered a judgment in 15 days. You remember when we closed the case? 14 days. 14 days. He said he was going to do judgment in 14 days. He has never written a judgment in 14 days or is practicing life. The minimum he has delivered is about 6 months. The minimum he has delivered judgment took him 6 months. But for me, it was supersonic speed. 14 days, judgment ready, sent to prison. Kabiye ku prison Kambwili. Pakulandira kwa bena Zambia. Pakunje bati. Pakukano kumpela 300,000. And coincidentally, the 300,000 he was asking is the bail he has charged me. What a world we live in. And go and see again. It's unprecedented. And there is no history in this country where somebody asking for bail pending appeal has been charged 300,000 cash bail. Go and see. It's the first. It's a world record in Zambia. They've never charged anybody 300,000 because that is what they have squeezed me. And I've been complaining, no, I've got no money. Why is the squeeze? So he thought, an alarm charge 300, prison. He doesn't know that I've got family, I've got friends who would not say, my usual name in England, I can hustle around and find leave. But in Ghana, I've got family. We're a big family. And my family just came and said, no, we cannot allow our person to go to prison. And 300,000 was organized within a short period of time. After that, they organized 300,000 again. What does he do? Immediately, he runs away. Kumufwaya the whole day, she read everything. He was nowhere to be seen to attend to my judgment. Around 17 hours. That's when he calls the marshal. He knew 17 hours the bank was closed to go and deposit the money. He knew by the time they come from there, I sign a paper, I felt authorized to go and deposit the money, the registry airport would be closed. I spent one more day in prison. And he even made it. First and foremost, in his judgment, he said he was going to give a punitive. I thought the law has changed. Prison is correctional. They've removed, they are no longer calling it prison. It's correctional. To take a muntunga not being punitive. But here is a measure, he says, I'm going to give a sentence punitive. 2 years, 1 year each. Concurrent. Again, when giving bail, he repeats the same thing. I'm at details. He said, yes, I'll admit him to bail, but I'll be punitive and very stiff conditions. Mweba nensu munenu alipianga ine. Mwayabula 300,000 from him. Abike mukoti. Tamuishi beneri apiu ikesa. Shide mpianga na shide kukoti. It will not earn interest. Kalapwa. 300,000 would be about 20,000. Umufulo fye. Weka fye umufulo. Vali ato. Vali bachile convict. Bail pending appeal. And that was 2.5 million. We are shika 2.5 million. Allegation. Tawa pele cash bail. Tawa pele misery recompense. Vaka tele kalumba. Tawa pele cash bail. And many other prominent people and ordinary people. But Mbwili, Bantu Mbwili, Ineland la kwa bena Zambia. Ipoke ni 300,000. Tuwike fekwa county. Mlandolo kaporo ikesa hapo. Alors fiengo munenu kwa fyo touch ta. Chivi. Yes, atatemo. But I'm comforted by the fact that Jesus Christ mwanalesa pakufwa Yesu mwanalesa ushakwetya olubembo atile mwilandirira muleyirira mwebene n'abaana benu apitile mu makyushi apumwa atukwa atanikwa elwaisa amonekati ni mwanalesa. So I can only thank the following people for this issue of me going to jail without committing any offense. Honorable Steve Chungu, MP Luansha constituency. Nathan Chanda, Mayor Luansha. Chirufya Tayali. I don't know what title I can give. I can define that young man. Chirufya Tayali, my younger brother. I want to thank you people, together with Honorable Simusamba, for taking me to court without committing an offense. Just sheer jealous and nothing else. And I can leave you in the hands of God. Posterity will judge you very harshly. As for me, I will leave this issue in the hands of the appeals court to determine my fate. But my appeal to the government and the judiciary, don't let the judiciary be destroyed by one man. Muchibemba batila imputi isula taibula kuwekesha uakalemana o takaleka. For you people in government, some of you can celebrate at Kambwili wamka kuli musubusamba mumuleke mailoni wake sa ikusha 400 no kukukaka. Echo shaka limoni mwae that never you leave an enemy behind, for one day it shall rise. If you remember that he left an enemy behind. Yai mafuti yasa kupo. No, but for me, vengeance is for God. For me, vengeance is for God. I can give you an example. The Majesty Tuanka Kilemo MMD, when we won, people came to me. No, we must sort out that Majesty. He must be fired. You know, standing judge in Shamulumbulation. If I was a bad person who doesn't reason, who behaves politically, I'm a politics yabupuba, I would have instigated the firing of that. Because even Mr. Sata was not happy when I was jailed under MMD. It was Majesty in Shakoken. But I never went to Mr. Sata and say, Sir, would I Majesty to one kakile nomba too much tepo because in Echilandu Shava na lesa. Mfaya fyo muntu mwine aba guilt pado akwe akachitena repent so that he doesn't do such a thing to other people, but not for me to say imuchitefi binangu fye fyonse byachitika kuli ine bambi bali kwata no mwenso ati Kambwili mingaba president akesa atuchita chakuti na chakuti awe batata baletwewo kutile Echilandu shi chaba na lesa ero muntu ngakuchite chibi. It is just part of life. What Musambili lepo chimo. Nabambi abantu basambi lepo chimo. Even my young brother Simusamba, I have nothing against you, young man, and I will never hate you. Even when I meet you, I will greet you. But conscious for when we yakulaku. Conscious. Yakulaku. Then I have a president. We can push an inch to Kamogla Papa the wife I will not be interested. If you've been in the civil service, ukala bomba fe wemu inechikala kuliafi. Ngatuwaku mana watu muka. But you know, kuchite chivi, tefi abamwana Kambwili, tefi batata batufundi. Coming to Chirufya Tayali, I can only say, young man, I feel sorry for you with your rantings. Like I've said, if this case was fairly looked at, Chirufya Tayali could have even been locked up for perjury. Like he's saying, no, Wakambwili never to have perjury. In his own statement in court, Chirufya says, Wakambwili register company in 2013, you know, by minister. Bafunya question yabo babika kweja fictitious. Bakutwale pokama contract government not realize that even a company. Are you listening? In court, that's what Chilgatayali said. He registered the company in 2013 so that he can be getting contracts as sitting minister so that he can influence those contracts without being noticed. When the documents were pulled out from Pakra, that Mwamona Engineering was registered in 201. Well, back before I was minister, I was MP. August 2001. But Chilfe went and told lies at Kambwili Embeshe company in 2013. And the majesty couldn't consider that lie. Embeshe in 2015, you know, minister. Back to the contract. To the contrary, Mwamona Engineering was registered in 2001 on the 28th of August. I was not minister, I was not MP, I was just a member of Central Committee in charge of the Copper Belt that time, of PF. And I didn't know in 2001 that I was minister. Would we have known? Because my look to Afua, my look to Bakutan and Finaman from PF. So to Kambwili government ngana minister mu 2013 ngese mkuipela ma contract ukwa kulokwisha so navika question ya bufi. Muli sense umabani? Then he says Bakambwili bale wamsha Mwamona Engineering to threaten people to bulldoze his way to get contracts from the mines, contracts from Mopani. He was doing all the contracts at Mopani, all the contracts in the government. To the contrary, let me put the record straight. Mwamona Engineering from government direct, it has only done one contract. The Liteta police station. The Liteta police station. The other 2-3 contracts that are related to government were subcontracts. Which subcontracts Mwamona tendered, not in subcontract, the provincial chairman, ever lemba listi, yaba subcontract. That time when a contractor is given a job, what they used to, the contractor will advertise, and the subcontractors will apply, will tender, like the normal tendering in government, and they'll pick. Was on the Luwingu Mansa Road where we were picked on merit. So which contracts is Daddy saying I was getting so many contracts? Records are there to see. Go and see if Mwamona did. Mwamona's big customers were the mining companies. We're mining for Mopani, we're mining for KCM, we're mining for Luansha Mine. And Mwamona did not pay attention to business government. And by the way, people of Zambia, I was Minister of Youth and Sport 2012. If you remember, I was sitting on a budget of 1.8 billion kwacha that time and rebased. Huh? To do infrastructure development for the Zone 6 games. You remember? Where we renovated the university, we renovated the colleges, we were constructing new playing fields, the swimming pool. My CEO, Mr. Famous Kabwe, came to me and said, we want to tender for these jobs. I told you, conflict of interest. As long as I have interest in Mwamona, you cannot come and do jobs in my ministry. My elder brother, come here, Pastor Kambwili. My elder brother, Yetwali Patene, Pali Zone 6 contract. That is very true. Mutamasili Enterprise Company. He also came and said, I want to tender for jobs. I told him, my brother, you cannot come and tender for contract minister.
In fact, I got off Chinese to his office.
I told him I cannot
entertain
this.
Is not permanent.
Where you come to your Chinese and say you want to work with them, I influence to give you a contract. I can never do that. Hello, Imwefia, as long as you are my brother, stay out of these contracts, the Minister of Youth and Sport. He stopped talking to me, this man here. And said, you have no way pangenda lama. If you basunga my families, I said, Vaisanga. What na this shive? Le salan social. Genuinely, even if you be given a job genuinely, one day they'll come and say, it is because I was minister and I gave you the jobs because you are my brother. Na papa tasana, save my future, save my children, and save the name of the family. Him, Mutale Kambwili.
Exactly.
And none of my relatives or close associates had any contract to do with Zone 6. That's Shimba Kambwili for you. Tell my son to court for committing an offense. It's painful. It's extremely painful and annoying. I told my CEO famous if he was here, he was going to tell you, you can't tender for jobs in the ministry. The press. Tayari says, Nale Fisa, to a big fictitious name, Pagati, Nefisa, my interest in Mamona. Go to the High Court of Zambia, go and look at my declarations. 2011, when I was minister, go and look at my declaration. 2013, 14, 15, I declared in all my declarations that I had interest in Mamona engineering. How then could I have my interest in Mamona? Mwachi wandichilufya tayari amenso y'abantu yalalia. Elo ukusamwa tekusuma. I know how all this thing happened. People created a fake story and they said nantu ala bonfya report. Bakwamba bale fwaya ukubonfya Peter Chan and some other people. Bakana. Elo ba no tusende tayari efe waishile to be used against me. So don't say I'm a lawyer of the public. Kambwili was abusing his office. I've never abused my office. If I've abused my office, please, God, help them. Take me to court. Genuinely. I can even challenge anybody. I'm no longer in government. I'm government. Oh, nobody then to me na phone. Nanguwa Zesco. Any other company. Ukweba Mamona engineering company yesu penny contract. I challenge anybody to come out and say Kambwili left to appeal na contract or to appeal Mamona engineering contract. I challenge everybody. That's how honest I am. I have built my reputation over a long period of time, and I wouldn't want to lose my reputation. Mwilafienga abantu ababulomulana. Lesatatemo. Elo ubwa renkoninga bwaisa against you. Not from me. Inana alikuchitatora yet. You answer your own to Kawalande Finchquas, come which one. I have never had a confrontation with you. Only one time I told you, guys, what have I done to you? Deliberately, I don't answer you. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not. Sometimes my cadres have come. Tatayad Ture Koma. Andrew Miabashan. And I will not come to prison in Alamika. I'm going to tell you. Inshkushka musanga. Ichiwe mbachitila. Inshkushila linganya. Shalingenye nina. No mwana. Inshiku shilinganya. Shalingenye nina no mwana. Umwa ichena o ekalishelwanya. Ichiwe mbachitila. Umwa iche ekalishelwanya. Chilifye chifinfyo mukonso. Chisesa chitontoli tonfwa. Umwana shumfwa amene no mwefukwikoshi. Na ma press briefing ayo odinga ule ibala ula. Tawaka ibala ule bushikumo. Ozimwe mipashi teisu mokuchushe ya ulomulana. Kambwili used to abuse his office. He's a bully. He was doing all contracts at Mamona. Let me tell you, Zambians and the whole world. Mamona Engineering had one contract at Mopani Copper Mines. One contract which was spent to them in 2009 when Kambwili was not a minister. How did Kambwili influence contracts at Mopani? Mopani gave... I was in the opposition. I was an MP then. And the person who was going there, he was even a prostitution witness. I was not involved. Mr. Mwanza, who was mine manager at Luansha, he was mine manager at Konkola. He's the one who was employed by Mwamona to run Mwamona and look for contracts. He's the one who was running at Mopani. Because that time you know that in the opposition will never give you business. So, the whole thing was left in the hands of Mr. Mwanza. He managed to get a contract from Mwamona. In 2009, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was a minister in 2012, 3 years later. But she said, it's time influence kumaini. He was being given contracts. Go and check at Mopani. Mwamona had only one contract from 2009 to 2019 when it was terminated. It's a mining contract. And by the way, Mwamona is well established. It's got mining equipment, and you should be proud that there's a Zambian company that is a good mining developer with equipment. And they're being given contracts was on merit. Not who few what Kambwili was abusing his office, who is a bully. Mwalifilo kunsanga na kesi ya abuse of authority or anything. Nomba mwalaiba, umwana afya that is fictitious. Meba muninane Ishkumutanda. I come to the issue of the last issue. It was not even going to be part of this press briefing, but when I read the newspaper today, particularly the masks, and what I heard yesterday, after I came back from the memorial service of my mentor, the man I respect so much, the man who is responsible for all the developments you are seeing in Misebo, he made a plan, a 20-year plan. Made a 20-year plan to read that Dora says Mr. Sata destroyed the agriculture sector because kumiawo bayatute takwa so tabaishibe fya fertilizer is an insult to Mr. Sata. Let me quote what Dora said. My heart beats. Where was that? Where was that I saw? Yeah? No, it's the comment. It's the editorial. Yes, it says. I just want to go on the portion where it talks about my mentor, my father, the owner of PF, Theodora Lelo Adimo Minister. It says the 8 bags of fertilizer we got under Rupia Banda disappeared because Mr. Sata ate cassava, which does not require fertilizer, and you started calling us Paya Farmer, and it is now under President Edgar Lungu that the agriculture sector is being revamped. What an insult. Dora, wherever you are, apologize for this statement. People of Zambia, you may remember very well, and I was in the forefront in Parliament when the MMD decided to reduce the number of bags for FISIP from 8 to 4. You remember? You remember my debate in Parliament? I said this move is aimed at you sharing the 8 bags so that you can have more people being given fertilizer to create a big network for people to vote for you. This is a political stance. And we cannot support it as PF. Please, Mwese Shaban to 8 bags. The reduction from 8 bags to 4 was done under Rupia Banda towards elections. Because they didn't have enough money to add more people on the FISIP. So they just decided to reduce the bags to 4 so that they can put more villagers on FISIP to get 4 bags, 4 bags. We condemned it as PF. Lubinda, you were there. Jean Kapata, you were there. How can you guys sit and relax and be quiet that Dora is saying that Sateva reduce 8 bags to 4 nomba na mtambo kufiwamia na fiwama. Please mwilatu kabasata. Mwilatu kabasata. Dora waweke shapo. When you were coming in PF, I said, I will not work with this woman upon my dead body. If it means selling the soul to the devil himself, I will. Unless she apologizes, you apologize. Can she dare apologize? Wapele was just crocodile tears. Na lelo waweke shapo tukabasata. Does it mean abantu abafuma ku Northern Province because ku Northern Province tulali obunga bwa tute tulali atute. Chachine tulali atule obunga bwa tute. Nga uli obunga bwa tute kudi mama tawa. You can't give people fertilizer. Mr. Sata, in fact, relations say we're going to your bags. But what happened? We found the coffers were empty. We found the coffers were empty. If we went to increase the bags again, it was going to be very, very difficult. We're going to eat up the reserves. We're going to eat up the reserves just for fishing. We said, okay, let's stabilize a bit. Up to now, bags of minimum have not been increased. They are still 4. Campaign, talk to the people, but please respect Mr. Sata. Respect for Mr. Sata. That position of minister you are enjoying today is because of our sweat, because of Mr. Sata's sweat. And I will not sit behind watch you insult Mr. Sata or cast aspersions over Mr. Sata. Mwaisa na kumemori kwa mwalibate mwa Sata. Lubinda na mwikala quiet wale babe pesha. Ateba ona wile eba chile juice amasaka ya fertilizer. Eba ona wile agriculture. Now agriculture is doing better. My heart bleeds. God bless them. Are there any questions? Questions? Yes.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, thank you.
I'm Joseph Tamari from QFM Radio.
Yeah.
I want to find out, you are few drugs. What does this do to your political career?
The law is very clear. The law is very clear. And I would not want to recite the law better than my vice president put it. The law is very clear. And I would not want to recite the law better than my vice president put it when I was in prison. Mind you, we must be very careful the way we interpret the law. Because anyway, interpretation of the law is only left to the courts. My vice president says, Honorable Kambwili still qualifies to stand as president. Tutu Angulove answered, Wakatiete mwenda mwalimu. Katiete mwenda mwalimu, tutu Angulove. Tawali poko tuwale chule ichilongani nechi. Vice Angulove Kambwili, now that is a convict, if I cannot stand. If I can't stand, why am I still president of NDC? Why am I still president of NDC? Even if I'm bad from standing for the next 5 years, am I elections here last? Am I elections here last? I don't want to cast aspersions on people or to say things out of what I prepared. Myself, I just wanted to make it very clear that Sumu Samba acted badly and was being insincere by the comments that he made. And obviously, to ask my young sister, Dora, to apologize to Mr. Sata. And this must be the last time that you are bringing Mr. Sata in your nonsense.
Earlier you mentioned, my name is Oliver Singer from the Mast. You mentioned Honorable Steve Chungu and the Mayor of Luansha, Nathan Chanda. You thanked them for having orchestrated your going to prison and court. We are curious, what was their role in...
Your guess is as good as mine. Next.
How is your experience, or how was your experience in your stay in the correctional facility? And do you see political influence in your jail?
You don't discuss a matter which is before court. We have appealed. And if I start saying, no, it's political interference, it's this one, I'll be being unfair myself. You, the general public, are able to differentiate sense from nonsense. And I don't think you should make me start doubting your intelligence, young man. From what I've said here, where the magistrate can even lie that I used to abscond court, I faked COVID. I'm very certain, and I trust you. Trust your intelligence and your ability to differentiate sense from nonsense, which is very good. Your IQ is very high. But the mere fact that you have asked that question shows you are a very intelligent person. But please don't put words in there.
What's your experience, sir?
My experience in prison is a good experience for one who wants to be president, because it will give you an insight of how those people in prison must be looked after. And I want to appeal to my elder brother, President Edgar Lungu. The 900 people that you pardoned, thank you very much, but please pardon some more. There's too much congestion in prison. Bamwe abantu mu prison tabalala bekalafye because there is no space. There's serious congestion, and my appeal is that these petty crimes, mataba form mabala kunsala, atobo munanko olupika asoti bamuchena fi apaka pola. Please avoid sending such people to prison. The prisons are too congested. That's one. Secondly, the diet in prison is very bad. Chilemba, Yabulamon and Fimo through and through. Kutibali Pangemian bad Nawaban, Palafua Coca balance diet. Wamonako Netanta Yanko. Wamonako Mukusa. Because when you take people to prison, you are saying we can look after you, we can feed you. But don't go and just lump people in an enclosure where you cannot feed them. The situation is a little bit okay right now, because at least Nale Mona Vadia breakfast, Vadia na lunch, na past 16 hours, Aliako sample, but the diet is not balanced, and is not a diet to talk about. No musalu fie, kule shupa basic musalu wakti, abafungu abali. For those who are responsible, wakampiongo, machwandi. Mwenye nukutila abafungu, wale kwa tefi ya kudia. The president, idomukala chita pardon. Kala kachupile, tena istata ipuile. Independence was just 4 days. Fiyenko na bambi 10,000. Which type of decongest prison? The situation is very bad. Extremely bad. In a cell, more toilet, we have 300. Hello, once in our diarrhea. Kala in yellow. So as simple as that. In a cell, we have 400. We have diarrhea 10. It is really very, very bad. The situation is extremely bad. We can use the COVID, we can use prerogative of mess to decongest the freedom. In any case, petty crimes. Ero chilenga abantu kulwanga ni asoti ni nsala. Mwini ali n'ensala lero waya musunkamu. Ufunishe chifukushi muri. Finally, let me say that the way my wife and daughter were treated, again I would say vengeance is for God. But don't treat people like that by police. But I'm going to say, no man, I want to decent people. This is a formula and do Malabataka. Ero chichi shileta kutila. Umuntu ngalikwata fish na Kambwili tetengile nchito tetumupele police bond. Surely, on a misdemeanor, tumakana kupena umuntu police bond. Takayapokera kukoti. But abantu abagere ku police name fire kumabaka pokera mwapela police bond. Simon kukwata fenson mwebe. Wamona fiat bati apande sevana. Shimo mbinga seka. Ana mumbi. Tena kapili. And to close, there are not any other questions. I want to thank the prison authorities for being professional. If there is a department of government that has remained professional, is the prisons. Despite working under very difficult conditions, the officers there are very professional. They respect people, even inmates are not ill-treated. Keep it up, prisons. Under difficult conditions. But nafilanda ndile kuna mulombela kofe balungu. Funyeni kwa abantu nangu another 10,000 mujele. Nateli mga funyeni nonshita mume, mga funyeni kwa bengi. Abantu bale chula. Elo mulandu mume tukumpula. Owa ishibi ati Kambwili akaba convict nani. Nemu neshipango mulandu kusa isanga convict. Mume kwa mwaya olenji. Besa mpale.